panel in order. As you can see, quite a big panel. It's like question time on steroids. But I'm going to ask, rather than me do it, because you've got it all on here, a little bio about all our guests, but I'm going to ask them in turn. We've done it in alphabetical order. Just make things clear as mud at this time in the evening. But I'm going to ask everyone to just give one line about who they are, beginning with Simon Bailey.
Good evening, I'm Simon Bailey, I'm the Chief Constable of Norfolk and I'm the Police Services Lead for Child Protection.
Good evening, I'm Stephanie Woodrow, I'm the Deputy Director for Child Protection and Safeguarding at the Department for Education. I've got 2 grown-up children. I love playing netball, but I'm not that good at it anymore. I do lots of coaching.
Good evening, my name is Peter Green, I'm the Designated Doctor for Child Safeguarding for Wandsworth CCG. I'm here in the role as the chairman of the network of all the doctors and nurses who take lead roles in child safeguarding in NHS.
Hi, I'm Dave Hill. I'm the president of the Directors of Children's Services for the country. And when I'm not doing that, I run Children's Services in Essex.
Hi, I'm Rex Howling, QC specialising in family work, particularly care work, and I just the record, I graduated from this place 26 years ago.
Hi, I'm Michelle Liesu. I'm National Director for Bernardo's, one of the largest children's charities in the UK.
I'm Ashley Williamson. I'm a care experience person. I'm also a youth worker and I'm here to represent the young people here with us.
Brilliant. Could you hear everyone there clearly just before we kick off? Technically, that was good. Right, I've got the first question. I've got a handful of questions here, but I think everyone's stressing that if there are brief interventions you want to make, something here that you just want to make a quick comment on, that would be great. Obviously, the shorter the better. Very brief introductions. We'll give the speakers a little bit longer in their kind of opening answer, but let's just try and cover as much ground. But I've got the first one. I mean, canvassing opinion from young people ahead of this evening. It's clear that many feel and believe that there is a fractured system. That's how it's been phrased and put before you this morning. But from your point of view, both from your own individual services and across the partnerships, do you think that is that broken? And kind of briefly, if it is, what you feel needs to be done about it? So that's simple, isn't it? Simon, you begin. Let's go alphabetically down the table.
Well, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to go first. I mean, Jojo, you and your friend's experience encapsulates in the starkest and most awful detail the challenges that we face. I think what you have on this panel is representatives from a number of key services. And I wish I could sit here and say that Isaiah's case is a unique one. Unfortunately, it's not. Unfortunately, in too many serious case reviews, so the way that we respond to incidents like that, the same failings are continually identified. So in terms of children and young people having told us very strongly that children are getting lost in a fractured system, I have every sympathy with that position, and there are too many examples from my perspective to be able to argue very strongly that it's not. But I am by nature an optimist, and I will always look at the positives. And increasingly, there is more and more joined up multi-agency work taking place in terms of early help, in terms of the co-location of public services within the same office environment, in terms of the approach to our work in schools, mental health. So there is, and there are, significant improvements being made. However, from my perspective, there is still so much more that needs to be done if we are going to try and avoid cases like Isaiah's. There is still inconsistency in the approach to multi-agency safeguarding arrangements. Our IT systems are still not joined up, and my biggest bugbear is the fact that there is still too much of a reticence to share information, which is the absolute key to this. And unfortunately, the system, as you have described it, is not looked at, in my opinion, through the lens of the victim. through the lens of the person that needs our support, probably in 2016 and moving on than ever before. So I think it's incumbent upon us to start looking at it very differently, to start taking a systems approach to it, and stop thinking about this in silos. So one of my responsibilities is to lead for the police service's response to vulnerability generically. And the conversations that I'm now having across government are very much that we have to stop looking at it in terms of domestic abuse, or rape, or FGM, or child abuse, or CSE, child sexual exploitation. We now have to start looking at it through the lens of this is a vulnerable person, and how are we going to work more efficiently and effectively together to A, stop the abuse happening in the first place, and in the unfortunate cases where the abuse has taken place, how we ensure that the response is appropriate. There is some way to go to get to that point, but those conversations now thankfully are starting to take place.
Thank you. Stephanie.
Thank you. So I'm very interested to hear that young people themselves think that the system is fractured, and hopefully this will be the start of a conversation actually that we can get into more depth about actually why they think that and actually understanding what they mean by fractured. Because I think we'll all have a slightly different view. I just want to sort of start really with the term system, because when we talk about the system, I think we think about processes and institutions and duties and laws. But actually, the system is made up, and this has been said already this evening, but the system's been made up of individuals, of people, of children and young people and of adults. And so my view is that the system isn't actually broken, because what we see every day is children who are living in sometimes very difficult and challenging situations go out and do amazing things. So they're resilient, they have aspirations, they have ambitions, and they go out and deliver that, and quite often with the support of maybe not as many people as they should have, and not in as a joined up way as they should have, but actually they have the support of teachers and family and friends and GPs and social workers and others. And actually what the system needs is to build great relationships, so actually that children and young people can get the support in a variety of different ways that is brought to them in circumstances actually that meet their needs. So for me, I do want to learn more. I'm very happy to have more of a conversation about what we mean by a fractured system, but I think what we see every day is some really amazing things and great practice by individuals. But I also think that when we talk about, so the danger in saying that a system is fractured or broken is that actually there's an attempt immediately to change the whole system. And I'm not sure that is always the right way to do it, because actually we need to look at the whole before actually we bring in other changes actually may not make it better. So understanding which parts of the system don't really work well for children and their families is where we need to start actually, rather than looking at wholesale change. So I think for me, where I sit in government, that the view back in 2011 when we had Professor Monroe in to come and have a look at actually how well the child protection system was working, the view was that for people working directly with children and families, that seeing and spending time with those children was no longer a priority. It was too low a priority in people's roles and in people's jobs. And actually that people and young people and their families need the space to work with people who are building those trusted relationships well, to make sense of children's wishes and feelings. So for us, I think, and for me, it's about how do we get children to have a say in what happens to them, rather than having things arbitrarily done to them. And many children who come into the child protection system in which I am working will have very, very negative experiences. So actually making and building those relationships, I think, must be the first attempt that we do to mend what you consider to be fractured.
Thank you. It's a tricky one, there is a system, it does do some work, and I've seen plenty of evidence that there's some fantastic people working in the system who do remarkable things for children. What I don't have is a sense that the system as a whole is working well, and I don't really believe that it could not do better. I think it could do vastly better. One of the things that Eileen Munro, to pick up on what you just said just now, Steph, was a very simple idea, but we should make things in the system in such a way that it's easy to do things the right way and difficult to do things the wrong way. As a practitioner, it's the wrong way around at the moment. Now, you may not call that fractured, but I call it bloody hard work. And I think that we should be quite honest and open about that and challenge one another to do what the children and young people are telling us ever more loudly, bless you, that we are not doing enough to foster relationships which are supportive, loving, creative, understanding, and encouraging. We don't have a shared system of values in the system. I recently suggested that we should talk about values, and one of my colleagues said, well, why? Because we wouldn't be doing the job if we didn't have those values. And I get that. But what's very clear is if you don't have an agreed set of values in an organisation or a system that everybody signs up to, then not everybody's going to be following the same values. So not everybody's going to help achieve the outcomes that we all want for children. And God knows, I think overall we're not getting all the outcomes for the children that need them, that we should. And that's just about the children who we know are coming into harm today, have been harmed yesterday. What we're really not talking about is the children that we know will be being harmed in 3, 4 or 5 years' time. And we're not going out there and looking for them and stopping the harm. And we find that really quite challenging. And why? Because it's expensive. Looking after children properly, bringing up those that have lost good parenting capacity, that's expensive. And I think we need to be saying that very loud and clear. We need to invest more in the time and effort that's required to make children who are in unhappy or unsatisfactory or even just below par systems of parenting or caring. To get those up to what we really want for all of them takes a lot more time and effort. So that's my proposed solution.